Hey there, everybody, and how are you guys doing this evening? After 2 weeks of a break from the show, we are back here with What's Brewing. We have a very awesome show for you guys tonight. We've been off for a couple weeks. We've been, enjoying spring break. We had a lot of stuff going on with Easter and vacations and whatnot. But we are back here. Most of the crew is here. Alvie Rodgers, the bearded barista, is off this evening, so we'll try to fill in his shoes for the bearded barista. But we still have Ones and Zeros Chuck Haines back from the dead Fred Scholl, who has some very interesting news because he was able to attend a couple of 3D kind of press printing shows there. So lots of cool stuff to talk about with that. And then, of course, the spec sheet Tony McAfee with a heavier beard, it looks like we've got now after 2 weeks. The trying to catch up with Alvie there, so maybe we'll have two bearded baristas at some point. So we do have a pretty awesome show for you guys tonight. We've got some talk, if you saw from the title of the show, about Microsoft getting cozy with Cyanogen Inc. With a weird kind of partnership we're going there. I know Chuck has a bit of a rant. He'll be more than happy to go on for that subject right there. Some pretty awesome news actually about Google MVNO, some next-gen phone talk, and then, like I said before, that 3D printing event that Fred was able to attend. But since we have been away for 2 weeks, let's go ahead and catch up with the Brew Crew real quick. So I'll just go from left to right on my screen. Ones and Zeros, Chuck, what's been going on with you, man, for 2 weeks, and how have you been doing?
Doing pretty good, actually. Not a whole lot. I lead a pretty boring life for the most part, unfortunately. We did get some fun spring storms here in Kansas. If any of you guys haven't seen that, post a YouTube video of some pretty crazy hail we had last night, which was awesome. So definitely go check that out. So not a lot going on for me, just general stuff around the house and work.
Yeah, I know. I saw the picture you put in our chat, and I was like, it looks like snow. I mean, there's just like a ridiculous amount of it. I'm like, are you sure that's hail? But yeah, that YouTube video was. I'll try to link to that at some point during the show. It's just crazy how much hail you guys got there. And then going on to back from the dead Fred Scholl. How are you doing? 2 weeks have gone by without kind of face-to-face talk through Hangouts.
Hey, well, my life is relatively boring as well. Yeah, my life is relatively boring as well, and at my stage of things, boring is okay. I kind of look forward to that, but I did get to make an excursion today to a tiny island off the coast of America known as Manhattan, New York City, and took a couple of events, which is part of 3D print for the New York events, and I'll have some pictures and some real cool stuff to tell you folks about when we come around to it.
I know you're often so close to New York, and then I'm in middle of nowhere Michigan. Chuck's kind of off in the middle of nowhere Kansas, and then Tony's in Canton, Ohio. We don't have all the cool fancy conventions just right in our back door to go to that often. So speaking of the spec sheet Tony there with his fancy full beard, how have you been doing, man, for 2 weeks, and what's been going on with your life?
Oh man, it's been 3 weeks for me, wasn't it? I wasn't here for the last.
Oh yeah, so 3 weeks, yeah. Lots of stuff probably.
You would think, yeah. No, honestly, just watching my son grow like a weed. I mean, it is incredible to watch him just new things every day. He'll be 5 months on the 22nd. But
wow.
he is already starting to try to say words. He's doing the
That's awesome.
buh thing, so he's trying to get that out. And and my wife told me when they were at the store earlier today, her mother said they were talking about what he likes, and she said my wife said he likes poo, and her mom said poo, and he goes. So we're getting closer. I think he may talk a little early. I'm sure I'll be one of those parents who just takes the first sound he makes that sounds like a word and brag about it all day. So I'll definitely keep you guys updated. But really, right now, I've just been working and enjoying watching my son do new things and impress me every day.
I know. It seems like it was just yesterday we were on the hangout, and you had to get called off to go in the room to see him a bit more, and so it's crazy. It's something 5 months since that.
Yeah,
it's insane. Well, as for me, I don't have any fun children growing up stories, thankfully, not yet. But the Star Wars Force Awakens trailer came out yesterday. Watched that 20 or 30 times. Kind of got really emotional during that because I've been waiting for that for like 10 years now, and it's finally a thing. And then the Battlefront trailer came out today. Watched that 10 times maybe, and between that and the Force Awakens trailer and Star Wars Celebration going on in Anaheim, California, I had to go all out and took like 20 minutes setting up my thing here with like old Star Wars toys. I still have that in my basement right now, with the Star Wars box set that's off that you can't see, and just like Legos and crap, and then a Star Wars T-shirt. So this week's been like freaking like Cloud9 for nerd crap for me, because I even like made our Algebra 2 teacher put on the Star Wars trailer and watch it like 2 or 3 times in there, because she's like a giant Star Wars nerd. So no, that's been about the highlight of my 2 weeks so far. Then I went to Minnesota the week before this one with a friend to go hang out there. So just
a friend.
Okay, Tony.
Hold on. Before we get into that, I got to interrupt you, Joe. So, you were talking about Star Wars here, and I always forget. Have you actually seen any Star Wars in the theaters? I have to ask. First 3, or
The only one I was able, I think I saw. I want to say I saw Attack of the Clones, or is it Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones? Attack of the Clones. This is episode 2 in theaters, and then the one I remember most distinctively was me and like 10 of my cousins and my uncle and my mom and like my grandma. We went and saw episode 1 when it came out in 3D, which albeit is maybe the second worst Star Wars movie, was still a lot of fun just to go with like a bunch of nerds and just watch a kind of crappy movie in 3D. But no, I was like, I'm really disappointed I didn't get the chance to see like the original trilogy in theaters. Like, I'm really bummed I wasn't born for that. But so
hey,
no,
I
I've been
wasn't
like,
either. I've still seen them in theaters though, the remastered version.
Well, the remastered versions.
Yeah,
I think
not
not the original release.
I did see the original ones in theaters, and although I didn't go in that day. I was outside of the grand opening of the first Star Wars movie in New York City, because I had I think that summer I was 17 or 16, 17 I guess, and I had just gotten my first job, which was handing out leaflets on the street for a music phone dial-in service. I think it was a hotline you could dial in and hear what concerts were in the area, and we went to outside of concerts and events to hand these out, and one of them was the grand opening of Star Wars.
That's awesome. Yeah, still, like, I didn't get the chance to see like the original ones in theaters, because they didn't really re-release them like in these small town theaters in Michigan. But I've been like a giant fan since I was probably like 3 or 4, and my entire family is just like Star Wars fanatics too. So where they have it all planned out for like the opening like midnight premiere of Force Awakens to go there and just like dress up as Jedis and like rebels and crap. So yeah, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I'll probably like veer off and talk about that at some point throughout the middle of the show, just as a fair warning. But going on, after I get my coffee so I can stay awake through the show, before we get too far into the freshly brewed news, a couple of house cleaning rules I forgot to mention. If you're watching live, the Q&A is open, so go ahead and drop a question in there. If you have just a question about something we're talking about, or just have a comment you want to get out there, leave it in there, and we will be sure to get to it live on the show. And if you're also watching it live but not watching it on Hangouts on Google+, or you are watching it later on in the day or listening to the audio podcast later on in the week as well, go ahead and use the hashtag MCOJBrew to send us a question, a comment, or just a picture of a new phone you got, anything like that, and we will be good to go. And also, another quick reminder, the official Mobile Cup of Joe website is now live at mobilecupofjoe.com. We've got some really good articles on there right now, not a whole lot since we're still a new site, but I know we've been getting a pretty decent amount of views on there for being a brand new site. You know, I've got me, Fred, Tony, and Alvie all have some really cool articles on there. We're still trying to get Chuck to break his writer's barrier and get his voice out on the website. But it's been going really good so far, so if you guys haven't checked that out yet, be sure to go to mobilecupofjoe.com to take a look at it. Working really hard this weekend. I've got some stuff I'm planning to get on there, so really good stuff going along with that. But before we waste any more time through this evening, let's get right into our freshly brewed news, because we don't have a lot of stories to talk about, but they are really interesting ones that are going to take a bit of time, but there is definitely a lot of meat to go with them. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with Chuck to lead us into a topic I know he's a little passionate about with this Microsoft partnership with Cyanogen. So I'll admit I didn't dive too far into the story. I'll try to do that while listening to you. But just go ahead and lay this down for us. So what's going on with Microsoft in this new partnership they got with Cyanogen Inc.?
Microsoft and Cyanogen. Microsoft and Cyanogen have announced a strategic partnership, as they're calling it, to bundle some Microsoft services into the Cyanogen OS. Now, some of you guys might be thinking to yourself, well, Microsoft already has Android apps. And you'd be right. They have their Office, they have OneNote, OneDrive, and I believe they also have Outlook. But we're not talking about just Android apps here. What we're actually talking about is deeply integrating into the Cyanogen OS, at the operating system level to enhance these services. So they're going above just having a simple app in the App Store, and presumably they're going to start replacing the appropriate Google apps. What they've talked about before is using Bing for search, OneDrive, instead of Google Drive, Outlook presumably instead of Gmail, and those kind of things. So we're talking about more than an app here, that they can put on the Google Play Store. They're actually talking about deeply integrating into Cyanogen OS. Now, some of you guys may or may not know that Cyanogen, with their, I believe it's their 12 release, or maybe it was their 12.1 release, actually released Boxcar as their default email app in Cyanogen OS. So they're really trying to hold true here to the whole, we want to take Android away from Google. It's a stupid idea, but I got to give Cyanogen Mod credit. They're at least trying to do something here. But they've got to make money, so now they've got to figure out how to make that money. I think this is a horrible idea. And the reason for this is, one, they're still not replacing the Google services. And even if you are replacing the Google services, what are you going to do here? Are you going to be like the Amazon route and have your own app store, which we see how well that's worked out for them? And Cyanogen doesn't have anywhere near the manpower or the money that Amazon has. So I don't understand why they think that they actually can compete against Google here. The only thing they're doing is they're causing fragmentation in the market. Microsoft, I don't know if they've just given up on Windows Phone. I don't know. But why don't people buy Windows Phone? Oh, wait, that's right, because I don't have Gmail on there. I don't have Google Maps on there. I don't have all these things I've come to expect from an Android device. So the only thing that Cyanogen Mod is doing here is they're bringing fragmentation to the market. They're going to confuse consumers. Consumers going to go buy this whatever Cyanogen Mod device that they're coming out with next. Presumably not the OnePlus, since they've fractured that relationship. They're going to get it. They're going to think it's Android, and then all of a sudden they're using all these Microsoft apps. Well, wait a minute. Where's Gmail? Where's Google Now? Where's Chrome? Where's all these apps that I expect from an Android device? And I think that consumers are going to be sorely disappointed when they don't get those apps they're expecting. If a consumer is buying an Android device, they expect Google services. If they're buying an iPhone or an iPad, they're expecting Apple services. So people go in from the consumer world buying these devices expecting those services. Well, now they're not going to get those services. I just don't see this working from a consumer perspective. And furthermore, if they really do start taking Android back, what are they going to do for Google Play services, push notifications, all this maps, all this stuff that Google's got deeply integrated in there? I mean, they've already said they're going to roll their own app store. Okay, yeah, so good luck getting developers to develop for your app store. I mean, Microsoft is literally paying developers to develop for the Windows Phone platform, and they still won't do it. So it's really stupid, I think, personally of them. I think this all boils down to the fact that Cyanogen Mod has spouted off at the mouth. They want to have this big pomp and circumstance, and they've got to make money somehow. I mean, at some point in time down the line, their VC fairyland is going to run out, and they're actually going to have to show these investors that they're going to make money. So how they do that, I don't know, but I can guarantee you it is not the route that they're taking right now. I would actually be surprised if in the next 2, 3, or 4 years Cyanogen Mod is still around.
Now, I do agree with you for everything you said about consumers, and not to say that I don't agree with you about anything you said at all, but just to play devil's advocate for a minute, I know tons of people, no, I shouldn't say tons of people, I know at least a dozen people I have met that still use the Windows Phone, and the only reason that they're using it is because it integrates with the Outlook accounts that they need for work and for home, and they use Windows computers, for their day jobs and everything like that. So if Microsoft plays their cards right, and if Microsoft is involved in in bridging relationships between Cyanogen Mod, and let's not forget, if Cyanogen Mod doesn't screw over Microsoft the way that they've screwed every other business relationship they've had, or professional relationships, or people who are just independently helping them out with their development, but I digress. So if Microsoft can make connections for them and help them out, there would probably be a lot of companies who would be very interested in getting an Android device that can run Android apps that also integrates as smoothly with the Windows environment as a Windows phone would. Because that I think is their only chance for success with this. Because nobody who wants Cyanogen Mod, the open source OS, us people who root our, any Samsung device I get, I root and put Cyanogen Mod on it. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Cyanogen, I still want the closer to stock feel, and they happen to usually have the most stable ROM. So the people who want Cyanogen Mod aren't going to like this because most of us aren't Microsoft users. We don't care about the integration with Microsoft, and we don't want bloatware. And that's the whole reason we use Cyanogen Mod, is because we don't want bloatware. But if they do target the corporate market, or the people who do want that perfect integration with Windows, that perfect integration with Microsoft services. They like OneDrive for some reason. They want to be able to sync everything with their Windows computer. I think that might be the niche market we're looking at. But again, we're only looking at the same quarter of the market that Windows Phone currently has. So I think that it could work out if Microsoft really pushes it and does something good. But I'll tell you what, if they push Z Launcher on Cyanogen Mod, that's not going to be good. If they push some of their other really just like if they try to take it in the same direction as the Nokia X phones, what were they? The Nokia.
Oh, yeah, the phones that were basically looked like Windows, but
they were Android.
But they didn't have the services or anything.
I don't think Cyanogen. Well, I hope that Cyanogen Mod or the Cyanogen Inc. wouldn't let them do that. But if they take it the same way, they'd be totally tanking the whole thing before it even starts. And my piece on Cyanogen, they're running on Pride right now, and they happen to that Pride happens to have fetched them some okay backing. But I'm sorry, you got 80 million in funding from Microsoft with this whole deal, and then you think you're big and bad enough to say you're going to put a bullet in Google's head? Like, yeah. I'm sorry, $80 million, Google still doesn't know who you are.
Yeah.
It's not even.
I don't actually think. I think that Microsoft actually has not given them any money, supposedly because of this deal. So Microsoft was rumored to be part of the last funding, the VC round of funding, but they actually ended up dropping out, probably because of this upcoming partnership here.
Okay.
But what's interesting to me here is you can already integrate all of that stuff in with your Windows environment. Exchange works natively. All the Exchange device policies work natively on your phone. I have an Exchange account, so I mean, you have to accept those. The administrator can, for example, say that you have to have a password on your phone. It has to be a PIN password. Like they can disable trusted location, trusted voice. So they can disable all of that, even though it's an Android device, and still all of that from the Exchange server side. I think Microsoft would have been a lot smarter here to go the route they've been going, which is release the apps on the Android store, because now you're talking about billions and billions of devices instead of the 50,000 devices Cyanogen might have sold with OnePlus. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but I mean, come on, it couldn't have been that large. Couple 100,000, maybe 500,000. I don't think they sold 1 million phones.
Well, we're hearing what Blue Products is supposed to be coming out with a Cyanogen phone, or I mean, I know for a fact they're coming out with a Cyanogen phone. I think not HTC. Who's the other company that does a Hero? Is that Huawei or On?
Is that Alcatel?
Alcatel. That's right. I don't know. Was Alcatel coming out with one?
Alcatel Hero, I think. I know Alcatel is, yeah.
And I think that Huawei was also coming out with one. So we've got three different manufacturers. I may be wrong. It may only be two, but I'm pretty sure there were 3 different manufacturers I heard floating around that are supposed to be coming out with a Cyanogen OS phone. It's going to take me forever to get the difference down between those, but that are coming out with a Cyanogen OS phone, and And none of them are good manufacturers. Oh, and the Eureka U, that's another one that has it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to have another Micromax device, but still, we've got carriers who are all but existent in the U.S. or not carriers but manufacturers, and this is what they're using. They're not approaching any of the bigger ones that, like Samsung and Microsoft have a great relationship. Samsung makes Windows devices. Same with HTC. I don't know about how good the relationship is, but HTC also makes Windows devices. Why aren't they trying to go for some kind of big fish here and, a bigger manufacturer so that actual non-techies can hear about the release of these phones? Because I guarantee you, even though it's been in tech news for a month or two about the new Cyanogen OS phones coming out, you can go to any cell phone store tomorrow and there's probably nobody who's even heard of them.
Yeah, so if with these partnership with Microsoft, so if these does go through and Cyanogen basically says screw you to Google, would it be a Windows Store type of thing for applications, or would it be Cyanogen's own app store and then just integration out of the box with Microsoft services?
Supposedly, we don't know yet, but supposedly Cyanogen Mod is working on their own app store, and it would just be, these apps would be kind of in addition to their apps. But the problem that they have here, and maybe they're going to go the Amazon route. So the way that Amazon kind of gets around, not having the Google Play services and the push notifications and stuff is basically the Amazon APIs one-to-one mimic the Google APIs. So a developer can very easily target the Amazon platform from an Android app because the APIs are identical. So the only way that Cyanogen Mod is going to even come close to getting away with anything is to one-to-one mirror all the Google APIs. Well, good luck with that, because there's something like 80,000 APIs in the latest Google Play API stuff. So good luck with that, Cyanogen Mod. But the one thing I want to say here, though, is Cyanogen Mod, there's still a little fish in a big pond, because no carrier, until you get a device on a carrier, you're going to be a little fish. I mean, no offense to Blue, but they're a little fish. They make good phones, but they're not on any carrier. Until you and this is why Google made so many concessions with the Nexus 6. People are always complaining, well, why is it so expensive? Google knows that to sell a device, you have to be on a carrier. You have to make the concessions of the carrier and be on the carrier. That's the only way you're ever going to do anything. And the one last thought I had on this as a side tangent is, we just finally got Samsung to tone all their crap down, so that we find so that people who are buying the Samsung Galaxies finally can somewhat see what real Android is now. And now we got Cyanogen Mod, who's basically going to take us back 3 years to what Samsung was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, for the whole thing, Cyanogen that came out with OnePlus as running with them, so it's oh, maybe we're gonna see Cyanogen kind of start to become a real thing. They're became an official company as Cyanogen Inc., and they're finally having their operating system launch on a legit handset that wasn't that ridiculous 6-7 inch Oppo phone, and they could have had potential, and they were taking it slowly, but then they got this funding and they got to their head and they screwed over OnePlus and they screwed over Micromax. And I know they have a fancy new website and they think they're all big and hot, and while the ROM itself is really nice, I mean, without a doubt, it's a very nice ROM and there's a lot of good features and stuff to it, but their business ethics that we've seen from them in the past have not been the best, and it is just seemed like they're getting a bit over their heads with the position they think they're at. I think they think they've got a bigger name for themselves in this market than in reality, like you said, they're still a very small fish in the whole scheme of OEMs and carriers and whatnot. So, got unpopular operating system with the masses joined with a company who makes another unpopular operating system for the masses. So I guess put the two bads together and maybe we'll get something good out of there. Two lefts maybe make a right. We'll have to see.
Well, I hate to like Microsoft, but I do have to say that Nadella, is that the new CEO's name?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
He's definitely moving Microsoft in the right direction. So
I mean, he gave us HoloLens, so I can't complain. I mean, if I'm going to get holograms, I'm not going to hold the guy too much.
Exactly, and I have to add that in Nadella era, Microsoft is getting into some super cool artificial intelligence stuff too, and possibly rivaling where Google is at in that regard.
Yeah, I gotta say, one thing I wouldn't be afraid of having, and Microsoft's already said it's coming to Android. Cortana's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cortana is good.
Even just to get the old like the Office like Clippy on there on the screen, like the Easter eggs, you can do that, and having her mimic like Gollum and Buzz Lightyear. You get like well, it's cool. You get the kind of like personality and the humor, but a lot better that kind of like Siri has. But you also get good contextual information that Google now has, so it kind of combines it too. And actually, like you said, it's honestly like if I get a Windows Phone device, and the first thing I go to is Cortana to get it on there. So if we could see that maybe like seep over to these Cyanogen devices, that could honestly be a pretty sweet thing. It would make a lot of sense too if they've already said it's coming over to Android. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see about that.
Watch the next release will be called Cortanogen. Cortanogen OS.
Cortanogen Mod.
Microsoft putting a bullet through Cyanogen's head. Sorry.
But you heard it here first. If the next version of Cyanogen is Cortanogen, you heard it here first on Mobile Cup of Joe on this episode of What's Brewing. So put it in the history books. Well, going on to kind of from Cyanogen putting a bullet in Google's head to Google actually coming out with something pretty fantastic if you're in service coverage of T-Mobile or Sprint. We've talked about the Google MVNO rumors on here for quite some time. If you don't know what MVNO is, I forget what it stands for, but basically Google would kind of stand as a carrier such as Cricket or something where they wouldn't necessarily build their own cell towers, but they would use T-Mobile and Sprint's towers for service and offer kind of a cell phone service plans. So we got lots of new information on this here. Like I said, we talked about rumors before, but we're really starting to get hardcore details on what we're really possibly going to see when the services launch. Some of these things include pay per gigabyte. You have refunds on unused data, so kind of like rollover data that AT&T is offering again. So Chuck, I know you were pretty excited about this, and it's honestly something that's pretty awesome for anyone that's within T-Mobile or Sprint. So go ahead and lead us off here and kind of fill us in a bit more about these new juicy rumors we've heard this week.
Yeah, so we heard some quite nice rumors about Google's much anticipated MVNO. Like Joe said, obviously Google wouldn't be going out and building the towers. Instead, they'd be renting space on existing towers. The rumor is supposedly T-Mobile and Sprint. What is actually leaked out this week is a build for the Nexus 6. LVY47H, which was built around the same time as the current 5.1 builds that everyone's running on their Nexus 6. The interesting thing about this build, though, is it has an app in there that's called Tycho. And this Tycho app is supposedly the app that's going to kind of launch you into what is right now known as Project Fi. Presumably that name will change. For those of you guys who may or may not have saw the leaks come out about Inbox before it came out, it was called Big Top. So, like any software company, the softwares have code names before they're actually released. So Project Phi won't end up being, the final name of this. I'm sure of it. It'll be something else. So that's just an internal code name for now. But what Android Police was actually able to do was break down this APK and kind of find out what's in this. What are we going to see? This APK was signed by Google, although they did mention that it was not using a signature that they've ever seen on any other APKs. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with how that works, basically Google signs all the apps that you get. That way, and Android won't install another version of that APK that's not signed with the same key. It's kind of a little bit of a security mechanism. So some of the interesting things that they found in here, is much like you would expect from any cell phone carrier. The ability to activate a phone, port a number over to it, set up your minutes, set up your data, all that kind of stuff within this app. So nothing there is anything super interesting stuff you would expect from an app. It does look like presumably you'll have the option of porting numbers over to it. What's kind of interesting here that we haven't really seen is it looks like they're going to go with a pay per gigabyte model. But the interesting thing is if you whatever gigabytes you don't use at the end of the month, they'll actually refund you that money. So instead of buying 30 gigabytes for however much a month you pay for a carrier, if you don't use those 30 megs, well, you're still paying that carrier $150 a month or whatever it is. It looks like Google's only going to charge you for what you use on the gigabyte level, which is kind of cool. I mean, I guess that if it ends up working out reasonably priced per gigabyte, then it's presumably a nice way to save money, especially for people who are around Wi-Fi all day. If you're around Wi-Fi all day, you might not use a whole lot of data most months, and then some months you may use data. Well, right now with most carriers, you buy the higher plan because you may have that 1 or 2 months a year where you use more data, and you can't do the easy switching of stuff. Google has somewhat confirmed that they are coming out with an MVNO, although they haven't given too many details on it specifically. They've kind of called it like the Nexus model for cell phones. So it's not going to be for everyone. Presumably at the very beginning it'll be for the Nexus 6, maybe the Nexus 5. It is going to run off T-Mobile and Sprint. They did see strings for that in the APK itself, so it'll have to have the ability to switch between both Sprint and T-Mobile towers. I think the Nexus 6 is the only phone that's capable of that right now. The Nexus 6 in North America is the exact same phone for all the different carriers. It can switch between all the various carriers. So presumably it'll come out for the Nexus 6 first. I'm definitely excited. I want to see the pricing and see what the pricing model is to see if it's actually worthwhile. One thing that wasn't mentioned anywhere that I saw in here, which I have to presume that they're going to have as well, is Wi-Fi calling. Google's big about their Wi-Fi. So presumably the reason they're doing the pay per gigabyte model is because they're assuming that most times you're going to be around Wi-Fi, and presumably they're also going to let you do Wi-Fi calling. So at this point in time, this is all conjecture and what they could kind of figure out from the APK, but it looks like we're close. It really does look like we're close to actually getting something coming out from Google. Maybe Google I/O. Google I/O is actually right around the corner, so maybe we'll see something there. It does look like maybe they're going with a SIM-less model. Right now you have to put SIM cards in to switch carriers, but it looks like from within this app itself, you'll just be able to make a phone a primary device or not. So I'm not sure how they're going to work that out with SIMs and things, but I'm definitely interested to see what they can do here. And then I think the final thing here is that it looks like they're actually also going to offer device financing. So if you get on their service, presumably you'll be able to get a Nexus 6 and you'll be able to pay a certain amount per month, just like the T-Mobile Jump or the Verizon Next or AT&T Next?
AT&T Next or Verizon Edge.
Okay, so it'll be exactly like that, where it'll be a 0%. You'll pay a certain amount per month until you've actually paid for the device. I'm excited if it's affordable.
Yeah.
In this area, it's nice for me because T-Mobile's coverage is actually greatly improved in this area, but there still are some spots they don't have, but those spots are covered by Sprint. So this would actually be perfect for me because being able to bounce between the two, I'd be covered everywhere. So if you can come in a lot cheaper than what I can get for Verizon, I'll be switching over the service in a heartbeat.
You mean you don't like Verizon?
Well, Verizon works, and I'm able to have a Nexus device on Verizon now, so I guess there's that.
So with their MVNO plan, would you be able to use other bring your own devices, or would it be limited to the devices they offer, or do we not really know that yet? Because I'm just curious if it's gonna be SIM-less, how you would go about doing it.
There's not a lot of devices that will work on both T-Mobile and Sprint.
Yeah, I think it'll be Nexus 6 only to start with.
I'm thinking that the rumored Nexus 5 Huawei or whoever we've been seeing the rumors of who's creating the next Nexus 5, and it's one of those manufacturers like Huawei. I think that might be a device that's going to release and be their secondary, their smaller device that they carry. That's my opinion. Now, when the original rumors started floating around about this carrier, it was the idea, or it was thought that it may initially only release offered to fiber customers, which would be a big letdown for 98% of the U.S. But that, to me, I don't think that really makes sense, just because it's such a tiny market share. And And I think I really hope that they say, hey, everyone with a Nexus 6, you can switch over if you want to. And because for me, I'm on T-Mobile, so I have no obligation to T-Mobile. I just have to end up buying myself a new router. That's the only thing I'd need to do if I switched off from T-Mobile. So I'm really excited, and I hope that we do get something, and I hope it's affordable because I am on Wi-Fi all day. Even though I have unlimited data, I still barely use any of it.
Yeah, like the one thing this made me think of a little bit was Ting, which uses Sprint's network, and they've kind of got a similar thing where you can pay for what you use, but they're thinking that you can only pay by megabytes, so you can only get up to around like 2,000 megabytes, which isn't a whole lot. So it's kind of the same deal, I'm guessing, what Google might do, because we've seen kind of similar services like this with Ting, but this is obviously targeted towards users who don't use their phones quite nearly as heavily as we probably do. So, but like $30 like a month, it looks like, for 2,000 megabytes, which only comes out to about 2 gigs, which I know we all here probably blow through very quickly. So, we have seen this kind of model before, but it will be nice to see Google kind of build it for maybe users like us who 2 gigabytes is something we can probably blow through in a couple days if we really tried. And just make it affordable, too, because myself, personally, I'm not in an area where Sprint or T-Mobile has any coverage. I kind of get AT&T and I get Verizon, but I refuse to be on Verizon, so I'm on Cricket, which uses AT&T's towers. So I'm stoked for this, even though I wouldn't be able to use this in my current living area. But it is very cool, especially, Google, they pretty much already rule the mobile market right now, so it only makes logical sense for them to move into the MVNO market. We've been talking about it for years now, and it's just finally taking time for them to come into a reality, but it's nothing we really haven't been expecting or anything like that.
Well, the good news with the Google MVNO here is that they're no longer dependent upon carriers. So the one kind of thing that has both been a thorn in the side for Google and to a certain extent Apple, although Apple seems to be able to tell the carriers what to do and they do it. So Apple's not in quite as bad a shape, but Google, they've always been at the mercy of the carriers. You could buy a Nexus device, but you never got LTE on any of these carriers. Typically, you could get on a GSM carrier, but it was limited to HSPA plus. So this is kind of Google's way of being able to control it from start to end. You can buy the device from me. I can sell you the service. And of course, that Google is going to actually. I'm pretty sure it said it in the Android Police article. Is that Google is of course going to use this information to target ads at you. That's Google's game. That's what they do.
Right. So, I mean, what about you, Fred? What are your thoughts on the whole Google MVNO situation?
Well, I think it's, like you guys are saying, I think it's a logical progression. It had to happen. It seems like they've been moving in this direction, and I'm a little surprised at the per gigabyte model, since it doesn't.
Did we?
I think we might have lost Fred there.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're back.
Yep.
Okay. The per gigabyte pricing model doesn't really seem to be in line with too much that Google is doing, which has been pretty much giving everything away for free. But perhaps it's a way to let people that are not used data consumers get in at a low price point, thereby further sucking more stuff into its network and its grips. For me personally, I'm on T-Mobile right now, and I do not get a signal here at home, which works okay because I'm on Wi-Fi. But if we added Sprint, which does get a signal here, that would be a nice improvement as well.
Now, one thing I would like to point out is I can't, and I could be totally wrong, but my heart of hearts doesn't want to believe that the Hangouts dialer doesn't have anything to do with Google's new carrier. And if it does have anything to do with Google's new carrier, then that would kind of lean towards Google doing everything via data, and since really everybody's doing everything via data now, with voice over LTE being such a huge selling point, HD voice on some networks, T-Mobile's coming out with voice over LTE, and voice over IP is huge for Wi-Fi calling. So we may see something that is, I forget what carrier it was. It may have been Ting, no, is it Republic Wireless? There's one carrier that runs on Sprint, and they just want you to be hooked up to Wi-Fi all the time, and it
Yes,
uses data.
Republic Wireless.
So they could be doing something like this, where they say, "Hey, we're going to configure your phone so it connects to, like, I know Microsoft phones Windows phones can automatically connect to Wi-Fi networks and accept the terms and conditions for you, so that you wouldn't have to manually go in and like agree when you're at Dunkin' Donuts. If they can make it to do that and automatically connect to any open Wi-Fi access point and use that as much as possible and only use your data when absolutely necessary, but you're still using your data for phone calls, I think it would be an amazing step forward, and you'd have amazing quality voice calls all the time, and they would never be using airtime for regular minutes. Now I don't know if that's possible, but I hope that it would be.
I would agree with you, except for they saw strings in this APK for a difference between a data-only device and a data talk and text device. So I would think if they were going to use the Hangouts dialer, that everything would just be data-only devices, because they do explicitly mention in there it's a talk and text device. Or a data device, and different charges accordingly. Also, in the porting process, when you port your number over, there is some specific text in there about porting your Google Voice number over to this service. So I would absolutely love for it to be through Hangouts of some sort. I think that'd be awesome, but I'm not sure.
Well, since we're seeing, the Nexus 6 they're being so careful with trying to make the next build, or pushing. T-Mobile missed the mark here with their voice over their Wi-Fi calling thing, but they're being so meticulous in getting Wi-Fi calling working perfectly for the Nexus 6 before they release it. What if it is a Wi-Fi calling thing? In which case, it would still be a similar thing, because if you can achieve Wi-Fi calling, you can achieve voice over LTE. It's going to work the same way. You're going over the available data connection. So I don't know. I mean, it may not be Hangouts dialer specifically, but I would love to see them go full on data with it and not rely on, because everybody knows that if you've got a strong data connection, it's better than using airtime with minutes. It's just going to cost you more because data. Who doesn't have unlimited minutes now?
Yeah, so it's definitely a lot of stuff to talk about. Have we heard any suggested or reported dates on when this is going to launch, or are we just kind of all rumor mill at this point still?
It's all rumor mill. We can probably expect Google I/O, I would assume.
Yeah, so it's definitely Google I/O should prove to be a pretty exciting year, maybe to hear more updates on Android Wear and Lollipop, and then the MVNO stuff along with that. So definitely gonna be a very exciting June. If anyone at Google wants to send us tickets to I/O this year, we'll give you our addresses at the end of the show for that information. Going on from that, moving
plane
on.
Tickets
Google,
too, please. While they're at it.
Plane tickets too. So plane tickets, some hotel rooms, if that would be possible at all. So we'll hash out the details after the show, and get our people will talk with your people and get that all worked out. But moving on from the Google MVNO stuff, we got a couple of quicker stories here, just about some general kind of next gen stuff, real quick. We've heard a lot of LG G4 leaks recently, and I got the chance to kind of review the LG G3 when it came out last year, but my review unit from Verizon just flat out wouldn't charge at all, and then I sent it back and I wasn't ever able to get a second review unit for it. But we've gotten a lot of details for the LG G4. LG, I love the way they kind of get ready to announce their phones, because all these other manufacturers, we get leaks, we get rumors, but they never straight flat out and say what their next device is going to be. But LG, if you go to their main homepage, right away, if you go to LG.com, you get this beautiful thing right here that flat out says, LG invites you to the official unveiling of the LG G4. So they know that the leaks are out there, they know people are seeing it. And when I saw this, I was like, thank God we have more OEMs making leather phones, because I am the biggest fan of this cognac leather back on my Moto X. It smells amazing, it holds up amazingly well, and I kind of just want another phone to compare a smell test to, maybe make that a series on Mobile Cup of Joe at some point in the future. But we're actually getting a lot of sweet details for specs on the phone. I'll just run through them really quick so we can get on to Fred's little piece here. In regards to the display here, it's actually pretty impressive. We're looking at a 5.6-inch display with what sounds gorgeous to say, and it's probably going to look amazing, a Quad HD 1440 by 2560 quantum IPS display, which just sounds like it has to be fantastic. We've also got reports, too, that the display on here will be 20% wider color range and 25% brighter colors on there as well. So LG put out an official teaser video for the display. It looks nice, but it is a promo video, but they really are touting this to be a pretty impressive display. And probably one of the even more impressive features on this is the camera, which we're seeing a bump from 13 megapixels on the LG G3 up to 60 megapixels on the LG G4, which isn't unheard of for smartphone cameras. But what's really impressive is that the camera will supposedly have an f.18 aperture, which will be fantastic for low light shots, getting all the details in there, reducing digital noise, and really getting a solid photo in low light conditions. And LG is even saying that this is, quote, the widest aperture camera ever developed for a smartphone, which is just phenomenal, because a lot of the times we see 2.0, 2.3, stuff like that, and even a 1.0 f1.8 aperture should be really fantastic. And we're also talking about some really nitty-gritty detail stuff, such as an ultra-thin 0.1 millimeter blue IR filter, which will help give you more accurate colors by blocking out infrared interfaces and whatnot. 8 megapixel selfie camera, and then the latest Snapdragon processor, LG's latest UX 4.0 software skin, which we saw in the LG G Flex 2. And then just a quick picture I want to share real quick here of some backs we've seen for the LG G4. We've got 3 of the standard plastic ones for our podcast listeners: a white, a kind of a gray, and a olive color, smoke color there. But then we also have some leather options in a black, a kind of maybe natural brown color, then a very, very kind of wine-looking red color, sky blue, leather smoke color, and a disgustingly bright yellow.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not a fan of the colors, but I have to say the black and the kind of natural cognac, just plain leather look, don't look all that bad. I don't know if I like it more than the Moto X I have, but I'm just up for anything that has leather on it. I will try it because I'm sold about leather phones from this Moto X. And honestly, from the specs we've been seeing from my time I had with the LG G3, I'm pretty excited to see what the G4 does have to offer. There's an event on April 28th where LG will officially lay down the details for this device. So I know we'll get on to Fred real quick, but do you guys have any kind of quick opinions on this? Because myself, I didn't get a chance to spend a whole lot of time with the G3, but the time I was able to spend with it, I was damn impressed with it. And the G4, from what we've seen so far, I'm really digging the design. The camera sounds absolutely fantastic. Like, it's going to probably be a contender for the best camera on a smartphone we've seen in quite some time. And from a awesome Quad HD IPS display, I mean, these promo and marketing terms are just killing me right now. So what do you guys think about it?
Well, I was a big fan of the G3, as you guys know. I'm real excited to see the G4. If for no other reason than what I really thought were the biggest feature, biggest and most impressive features of the G3 were the display, which was just absolutely awesome, and the camera, which was great at 13 megapixels. So I can't wait to see how they've improved on that. So I will be really eager to get my hands on one of these.
What about you, Chuck or Tony? What do you think?
I don't know. I'm not sure I'm sold on the back. I mean, I like the back on the Moto X. I think it's tastefully done. I'm not sure I like the way the leather back looks on the G4. Plus, I hope that, and I know that Fred didn't have this issue, but when I had my G3, it was horribly laggy. I couldn't. I had, I think, the G3 for 2 weeks. And then sold it because it was so laggy that I just couldn't even use it. So hopefully, they're trying to pack this big screen into a phone, which I still don't understand. I'm still, the Nexus 6 screen is nice, but it's still hard to tell between a 1080p screen and the whatever they're calling Quad HD screen that's in the Nexus 6. So I would say stop giving me a bigger screen. Figure out how to give me better battery life.
My opinion on it is I'm happy to see. I do think that most of the leather options look ugly, other than the black and the red one. They look all right. None of the other colors appeal to me. I had the G3, was not a big fan of it. I messed with the G2, was a fan of that. So if the new processor, I'm sure will be able to support the high resolution screen, that I'm sure will not be an issue for them, the way that it seemed to be in the G3 in some of our experiences. But I am excited to see companies doing the premium thing, going more towards, like, I hate to reference this movie, but more towards that But I do. I hate to reference that movie, but I did.
It's a
I
good movie.
watched. No, it's not. Anyway, but I do like the idea that you're going to get something kind of like Alvie was saying. Comparing a smartwatch with a timepiece. I like to see the marriage of getting something that could, if it wasn't for the electronics inside, could be like an heirloom, and it would last for a long time, and it would feel good in your hand, and something to have more than just something that you have to have. Something that you want to have, something that you want to mess with. So I am excited to see the leatherbacks and see where we progress with that. But that's honestly the only thing that really excites me about it. I'm sure everything else about the phone's going to be great. The camera's going to be great. I'm really excited to see, phones, manufacturers putting a little bit of thought into the way that they design a device.
Yeah, like I said, I was seeing, I don't know if this is right or accurate or not, but I thought I saw a supposed leak that the back is still going to be removable, and I don't know how they'd work that with the leather back, and I really hope that's not the case, because if they're trying to do a removable back with leather on it, I'm just afraid that's going to make for kind of a crappy, not super premium leather design like you've got in the Moto X, where it's a sealed back, so you can have a good cushy feel to it. I'm just afraid if you have that back option be removable, that it's going to kind of detract from that premium experience. But they're really touting with the LG G4 promotion. They said see the difference, feel the difference. So they're really trying to push this leather design. That's really the marketing they're pushing for all their promo videos and images for the G4. So you'll have to see. Fred, any luck on getting into a G4 event like you're able to get to the G3 one last year?
I don't know if I started researching it. I don't know if there is an event in New York City. I think they're doing it the way they did last year, which was a synchronized global rollout. But I don't think there is. I know invitations went out, but I don't think New York City is one of the locations.
All right. Well, one way or another, we'll try to
we can work on that too.
Yeah, we'll definitely get a review unit when the device does come out for sure. And just so if you guys want to take a time during after the show, I will be putting up a poll on the Mobile Cup of Joe page whether or not you think Her is a good movie, because I want to see what you guys think about that. So I'll go and throw that up there while I'm doing that. Fred was able to attend, we teased it a ton of times on here through the show, a 3D printing event in New York, a couple of them actually. So Fred, I'll go ahead and give you the reins for the show for the next few minutes, and go ahead and just kind of fill us in about what you saw at the printing event and just what stuck out to you and basically what went down there.
Okay, so I did a jaunt into New York City today, Manhattan, where there were multiple 3D printing events. Apparently it's globally 3D Print Week, and there were two significant events in New York City. I think there were a couple of smaller ones as well. The kind of bigger event was at the Jacob Javits Center, big convention hall, and this was yesterday and today. There was another, I guess, smaller event about 10 blocks, about a half a mile away, which has been going on all week and is still running through the weekend. It was really, I've been fascinated by 3D printing technology, although I have not gotten my hands on a 3D printer yet. If any of you guys who took my card at the shows today are watching, we'd love to get some 3D printers here to test and review and play with. But the technology has come a long way. It's not just proof of concept any longer. There were all sorts of applications of how 3D printing is being used. So I saw a lot of hardware manufacturers there. There's a lot of software, and then a lot of users of the technology. Everything ranging from services that you might want to use, like cloud shared 3D file printing templates, and various tools for creating your 3D modeling. There were suppliers of the various types of filament material that they use, and ranging to just services, companies there that are producing stuff using 3D printing and selling them. And even just shops that have set up doing 3D printing services in the same way that maybe 30 years ago, when not everybody had a laser printer or even an inkjet printer in their house, you'd go to a speedy printing offset print to get your stuff done that you can now print at home. There are services out there that will do your 3D printing for you in various capacities. As far as the applications of the technology, they're using 3D printing now to create almost anything you can think of. A lot of artwork, jewelry, clothing that's 3D printed, and I've got some photos. If I can get screen sharing working, I will try to get some of this up here. Hang on one second. Give me a moment here to get this set. Sorry, I should have had this a little more ready.
While Fred's doing that, I will say I did get the BlackBerry Classic today, so if you guys have any questions about that real quick while Fred's doing that, I'll take them right now, even though I've had the phone for like 2 hours. You could watch the Star Wars trailer, too, if you guys want to. I wouldn't be against that.
We'll probably get a takedown notice from Lucasfilms or Disney or whoever it is now saying, no, you can't do that for mass consumption. Oh, okay.
For a wide expanse of live viewers, even though I set the show an hour late on accident.
Okay. All right, here we go. All right, so first show that I attended was the 3D, I guess they call it Inside 3D Printing, which is on a world tour. It's been in Australia and Singapore, or I guess that's coming up, actually. This was perhaps the, no, I guess it wasn't the rollout, but it's still going to be touring the world. Anyway, here are some shots of some interesting stuff. This is the first of a series of 3D printed guitar bodies. Now, I'll scroll through a couple of these. These are really nice musical instruments. This is designed based on a Gibson Les Paul. It's just the body that's printed here. What's here is an already prefabricated wooden neck and some really nice hardware for Tony and anybody else who's interested. I think these were all Seymour Duncan pickups, which are top of the line. Here is another view of the same guitar. This one didn't come out as well focused, but it has kind of a honeycomb theme, and inside of this lattice work there are actually little honeybees in there. And you can't quite see it in this picture, but that is a $4,000 price tag on that guitar, which was for sale today. Here's one with a patriotic theme to it, based on a Fender Stratocaster and with this nice American flag kind of motif. Moving down the line, this was a group called Materialize. Materialize had actually two setups. One was their main bread and butter business, which is that they produce medical 3D printing, prosthetic devices, artificial limbs and implants and that sort of thing. But for the purposes of the show, and this was in a room that was all kind of based on designy stuff, they had a lot of artistic creations and some fashion stuff. And I don't know if you can tell from this photo, this is actually a completely bizarre pair of shoes. This is where your feet go in, and here you can see these are laces, and this is a pair of women's shoes. They also had some 3D printed clothing. This lovely lady is wearing a dress which is made up of little plastic links interwoven together. So this is a 3D printed dress.
Like chain
awesome.
Moving down the line, this was a company called Scholl's, and what they primarily produce is, in fact, shoe sole inserts, orthotic devices, and their main bread and butter here is a product where if you go to a podiatrist, they determine that you need some additional support in your shoes. The podiatrist can take 3 pictures of your foot, send it over to them. They will create the device, 3D print it, and it becomes this nice little insert that you can put in your shoes. They've got a pop-up store set up in Manhattan right now. This particular thing, which I had to get a picture of, and I've got a video. I don't know if I can share the video or not, but what this actually is a prototype of a futuristic pair of 3D printed shoes with color-changing lights inside, and what it's actually got is a sensor that would detect the color of the clothing that you're wearing and will adjust the color of the shoes behind this black lattice mesh kind of work to match the color theme of what you're wearing. What will I think of next, right? Here's some 3D printed toys produced by this group, Insanatoy. This is a car which is decorated with 3D printed materials. It's I don't believe the car was 3D printed, but all the stuff that's on the hood and body of the car was 3D printed. Moving along, I know we're kind of getting on in time here. I went a little bit further downtown on West 22nd Street. There was a second event called the 3D Print Show. I'm not sure why there were 2 rival events and why some vendors and manufacturers chose to go to one as opposed to the other, but there was a lot of cool stuff at the second show as well. Here, again, I don't know if you'd call this clothing or jewelry or some kind of ornamentation, but at this particular place I saw a lot of artistic stuff, jewelry and even sculpture. Here's another really kind of bizarre piece that was created. Here's some artwork that was 3D printed, sort of abstract sculptures. Bear with me a second. Here's another one from the same designer. This was set up on a table there. This is just a bunch of 3D printed flower decorations. More 3D printed art, obviously using various materials. This, I don't know how well this comes across. It's not in that great of focus, but these are 2 wall hangings, and these are essentially 3D printed pictures. They're textured, and it's obviously multiple materials and textured, and this was all done 3D printing. This is another sculpture that was 3D printed. This was they had a little rooftop kind of cafe set up on the 5th floor rooftop, and the furniture that was set up out here was 3D printed as well, as far as I can tell. Here is this is a company. I think I've got their name on a slide, a couple of slides later. This is 3D printed metal. Everything here from this is mostly ornamental type stuff. Here's a close-up on some of these really nice looking work. Here's a keychain, some sort of a wrench or tool, some jewelry, and so on. And I believe that's a stapler. One of the things that I find fascinating about 3D printing is that they're able, and in many cases in just one shot that doesn't have to be assembled, they're able to produce, by scanning it properly and printing it properly, they're able to produce tools that actually have moving parts. The first thing that I saw, which actually blew my mind about 3D printing, was an adjustable wrench, a crescent wrench with a the screw device to open and close it.
Wow.
That was produced in one shot printing.
Wow.
And yeah, this is the group that does this. Infinite Design Freedom. They call it binder jetting technology, but it's 3D printing with metal, which is slightly different.
That's fantastic.
This is a little out of sequence. Let me see if I can put it in context. This is a guy named Louis, and this product here is called the 3Doodle, and it is a 3D printing pen that he's got in his hand here. This is a handheld device.
Yes.
that shoots out a stream, and it's got various points similar to different thicknesses of pencil or what you might use in a graphics tool, that creates shoots out the stream, and you can freehand create all of this kind of stuff that he had set up and had been doing. Bear with me a second. I think I'm missing some of these.
Blowing my mind over here with all this 3D tech.
Yeah, amazing stuff. The one thing that I did not get to see, and I wish I could have, let me turn off screen sharing and come back to visit with you guys now, which I wrote about a while ago, and I wish I had seen here is 3D printed food, which is there are apparently I had about 8 or 10. That I researched when I was writing the article about a year ago. I did not see any 3D printed food technology over there. I did see, and I didn't get pictures that I shared in this, there was one group there, in addition to those really nice electric guitars that we saw, there was a group that produced really high-end electronic instruments. They had a piezoelectric violin, which I saw physically. I didn't see it demoed, but they also had a bass guitar. I've got a video of that. I'll have to. I took a couple of videos. I'll try to share some of those at some point on Google Plus or somewhere. And this was like a Chapman stick type bass with not too much of a neck. And I did see a demonstration of that, and a guy doing a brilliant job of playing on it. So super cool stuff. I'll be blogging about the event and hopefully covering some of the particulars that I saw as well. And I'm trying to see also if I can get us a loaner unit of some 3D printers to test and talk about. And I've people that seem to be really into talking about what they did, I've invited to come and hang out with us on the show and get some dialogue going. One regret that I have was that I got to one booth. There were actually a couple of groups there that were producing what they called 3D selfies, scanning. Take a scanned picture of you in one manner or another, and the one that I couldn't wait for, and they had too much of a backlog, so I didn't actually get it. They scanned a picture of me, and it was going to produce a little tiny plastic, I guess a bust, head and shoulders, I guess, which they told me will be ready over the weekend. I don't think I can get back over there, but they will email me the file so I can print it someplace else on a 3D printer. So it's a little Fred 3D scanner. And that's another thing, but a general tone of the things is a ton of practical applications of 3D printing. Everything from more advanced printers to more advanced scanning devices are coming out. And another theme there is more user-friendly stuff. You don't have to any longer be an expert of CAD tools or modeling tools. More and more, they're trying to make the stuff user-friendly, simple enough that anybody who can use a drawing tool can draw something. And there is a wealth of free templates out there to print stuff on, and file sharing communities where people share stuff that they design so you can take it and print it. So super interesting technologies, and see what else we can get to talk about out of this later on.
Yeah, I just want to play with that little 3D printing little pen thing there, but that stuff is all fantastic.
Yeah,
talk about.
I didn't see too much. That pair of I didn't get enough pictures in the sharing, but that pair of eyeglasses that I showed was created with a 3D printer, and the guy was wearing a pair that was just a pair of frames, but they had a pair sitting on the table, which was actually a pair of prescription lenses was 3D drawn, and
awesome.
all done freehand.
Yeah, that's right. Talk like 3D printing a lot. You hear about it in the news and stuff. That's pretty impressive to be able to go to two conventions like that and really get hands-on time with everything on there. And if we can get some of those guys to come on the show and just talk about it, or get some loaner units, we'll definitely cover a lot of 3D printing hopefully in the near future here on Mobile Cup of Joe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I didn't know how far 3D printing had come, but man, some of those are pretty impressive, I
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah, especially the
say.
tools and stuff at work, like that's just crazy. 3D printing metal is just ridiculous. Well, do any of you guys have any final thoughts or questions or comments for Fred on this 3D printing endeavor for the day? All
No, I
right.
definitely look forward to seeing some more on the blog and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, if you guys have any other questions about 3D printing in general or stuff Fred saw at the his kind of press events he went to today, definitely go ahead and send those to us with a hashtag MCOJBrew on all the socials, Twitter, Facebook, and whatnot. And we'll definitely be sure to get to you on those because I know Fred probably will be more than willing and more than happy to answer those questions for you guys. And if you have any questions, you want to hear us talk about more 3D printing stuff on the site or on future episodes of What's Brewing, and most likely we'll be doing that here in the next month or so. So definitely send us all of your 3D printing questions, all of your general tech questions to hashtag MCOJBrew. That's going to about wrap us up here for tonight's show. I'll go ahead and do the kind of closing things, our housekeeping rules, and let all the guys here do their little closing plugs for the night. If you guys do want to follow us on all the socials, just pretty much search Mobile Cup of Joe, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be. We are there. Go ahead and make sure you subscribe to us on the Mobile Cup of Joe YouTube channel. We are kicking out some stuff there. I know Alvie and I got up some reviews recently of the Lenovo Yoga Tablet 210 and the 13-inch, so we've got some good coverage there. Hopefully the Bearded Barista will be back to join us next week's show. And then also be sure to check out the website, mobilecupofjoe.com, where we are putting up editorials, reviews, news and views, all that good stuff. And just to kind of wrap us up for the show, Chuck, ones and zeros, what do you have going on this next week here coming up?
Not too much actually. Mostly just doing some spring planting here around the house, getting some stuff situated from the winter. So I guess just boring house stuff for me. I sound like a boring guy every time I come on the show every week, but really my life's not that exciting.
Well, that just makes this the high point of your week, which
There you go.
It makes us look good and look and feel good.
Let's be your beacon of excitement from your week of boredom. Well, going on to Back from the Dead, Fred, after your very envious week I have for you of your day of 3D printing experiences, what do you have planned for this next week?
Yeah, back from New York City, which is not quite the Dead, but well, I've got a lot of stuff to talk about and write about, and people that I'm going to be following up with after the show. Keep an eye out for some posts on the blog. If you guys out there in viewer land or podcast land have not yet checked out the website, we are live at mobilecupofjoe.com. We've got some content up there. I've got a piece on the Runcible phone, which is a really cool device that was prototyped at Mobile World Congress, and we've got more cool stuff coming. So log on, check us out, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, it's been going pretty good. No, it's still trying to get in the swing of running a website with a YouTube channel like this, but so far we've gotten over a couple of the bumps there, learning Squarespace and whatnot. So it's been going pretty good though. Got lots of pages up there, some good content for you guys to view. So definitely been fun being able to get our opinions out there both in writing and the video format like that. Also, Tony, spec sheet there, along with growing your fancy beard, which is growing on me now, getting all that fuller, lush hair there. What's going on with you this week?
Well, we've got a birthday party for my nephew tomorrow in the park, so I'm gonna be outside for a good portion of the day. Other than that, just enjoying parent life, still working, and life is simple and kind of like Chuck. It's not eventful, but it's definitely not boring. It's nice working from home. I don't have to worry about a lot of stuff, but not a lot of nothing bad's happening. That's for sure. So
That's
just kind of, what's that?
That's good to hear.
Yeah. So just enjoying life right now, and I know my son will be 6 months in a month, so a month and a couple days.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, so we'll be hopefully doing something a little not like a birthday party, but we'll hopefully celebrate that. That's really all that's coming up for me though.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's crazy. 6 months in a month. That's freaking hard to believe, man.
I know, I know. My wife was just signaling me. She's in the room now. She was just signaling me to say that we're gonna start putting him on, or start giving him some food and see how he reacts. She's let him suck on. It was actually. I wish we had time. I could show you guys the video. Maybe I'll post it on Google Plus if I think about it. But it was so cute the other day. She was letting him lick an apple, and as soon as she took the apple away, he just freaked out and started crying because he wanted the apple back. So I know he's definitely ready to get his hands on some real food. So,
That's
but
awesome.
God bless my wife because she has been an absolute trooper. He is 100% breastfed for 5 months now. So she is, and a lot of women don't make it that far, but she has been amazing with it.
Nice. Get a little. I think there's a little Google Effects applause right there for that. If Google Effects wants to load right there, maybe it's gonna work. It might not. Of course, one time I want to use it. There we go. There's some applause right there. Maybe not. Well, we'll just imagine some applause for Tony's wife right there for being an awesome. There we go.
Standing out.
Multiple times, kind of. I don't know. Well, for me, what's going on this week? I got a job actually at a local theater in here, so I'll be working that, starting out just a couple shifts a week and moving up from there. So that'll be pretty fun to have. It's kind of destroying my whole demeanor of working from home, but I guess I have to get a real job at some point for a little bit, anyways. So I got that. I'm trying to finish up my C++ college class right now, which is due on May 29th, and I still have to take midterms. So a lot of my weekend will be spent going through this lovely book right here. And then I also have my final project for my web design class, along with finals for school, which are coming up in the next couple weeks probably. So I'm going to have a joyful week, but I'm probably going to watch a Star Wars trailer a few more times tonight and for the next week here. So I also have the BlackBerry Classic, which should come in today. I'm actually really stoked to use this thing. I thought the Passport was coming in, but that's, I guess, coming in next week or a couple weeks after this. So I'm actually pretty excited to use this thing. I've been a fan of BlackBerries when I was, I don't know, 5 years ago or so. In the 9900, all that good stuff. So I like Blackberries. I really do like BlackBerry 10, and BlackBerry 10.3 definitely does have some potential. So if you guys have any questions, I don't think I'm going to do an unboxing video for this phone, simply because the box is this, and aside from the phone, there's like 2 pamphlets, and that's about it. So I might do a first look video on that, but that's probably going to be about it, aside from the normal review. So for my night, I'm probably going to keep my Star Wars stuff there because it looks freaking sweet, and I just leave it there because it's been hot. It took me like 5 minutes to get Han Solo to stand. I was supposed to like leave that there for a bit, and just have him stand there. But that's about it for my week. Nothing too exciting, and that about wraps it up for our show tonight here for What's Brewing after our 2-week hiatus. Hopefully, we'll have the whole Brew Crew back next time with Alvie, Rodgers, and everybody. So thank you, everyone who tuned in, even though I screwed up on Google Plus with the event page and set it for 10 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. So thank you if you did watch. Thank you for listening to the podcast after the show, if you're listening to the audio version or watching the show on YouTube after we go off air as well. And thank you guys just so much for tuning in. We apologize for our 2-week hiatus of being off air, but hopefully we will be back for our normal time at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time here throughout the next good portion. Hopefully we get a good stretch without taking too many breaks. That's going to do it here for me, Chuck, Fred, and Tony, and Alvie if he was here. Thank you guys so much for watching for like the 5th time in the past 30 seconds. Have a great night, and we will see you guys next week. Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.